Hi, everybody. Welcome to the July 15th Talbot County Board of Ed regular meeting. We're going to go ahead and move to closed. On July 15th, 2026, the regular board meeting of the Talbot County Public Schools will open at 5:30 p.m. for the purposes of declaring a quorum. As you can see, we have one, and we'll move to closed session as permitted by the Maryland Open Meetings Act, Section 3-305B, Provisions 1, 7, 8, and 9 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and Section 3-103 of the General Provisions Articles of the Annotated Code of Maryland for the following reasons. Citation 3-305B, Provision 1, regarding personnel reporting, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. Citation 3-305B, Provisions 7 and 8, regarding legal matters. 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on the following legal matters, and 8, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation, which includes the following: a social media lawsuit regarding litigation on behalf of school districts against Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube, a lawsuit regarding an alleged injury to a student, an OCR case regarding special education services, a student case regarding the alleged failure of TCPS to provide a free, appropriate public education, a student case involving school/residential placement, and allegations regarding the Child's Victims Act. Citations 3-305B, Provision 9, to conduct collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to negotiations. So moved. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We will be back. Hi, everybody. Is this on? Hello?
Hello.
Am I working? There we go. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Talbot County Board of Ed. It is a little past 7. Thank you for waiting for us. If everybody could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Do I have a motion to approve our board meeting minutes from June 17th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of June 17th.
A second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we're going to move into recognition of the public, and I'm going to hand it over to Dr. P.
So good evening to the board and our guest here this evening. You could see up here on the screen, we are recognizing 2 of our students who won the finals against Hartford Tech with a score, and it wasn't close, 6-2, 6-1 collectively. So they have won state champions. You could see Maryland 1A state tennis tournament. So we want to bring them up, award them with certificates, and I will read these certificates. Presented to Miles Fox for outstanding athletic excellence and dedication during the 25-26 school year. Congratulations on winning the Maryland Boys 1A double state championship. And the same certificate is going to Sean Klein. And we are recognizing also Jordan Miller. He is the coach, but also you will see in our next slide after they come up and we give the students the award that the coach is going to get for something else other than being their coach. So come up, please, Miles and Sean.
Miles is at the University of Maryland orientation center. And we got Sean. I got one.
Okay, all right, so both of you.
Congratulations, guys. Not even a little bit close.
And Mr. Miller, I'm going to have you stand up here. So congratulations to Mr. Miller. He is the 2026 Maryland History Day District Teacher of the Year. He teaches at St. Michael's Middle High School, and he is the Teacher of the Year for Maryland History Day, this prestigious award presented by Maryland Humanities, the state affiliate of National History Day, honors exceptional educators who excel in guiding students through intensive historical research, analysis, and creative project development. And so we are awarding you this certificate presented to Jordan Miller. Congratulations on being recognized as the 2026 Maryland History Day Teacher for Talbot County. Your commitment to excellence in education is evident and is greatly appreciated. Best wishes for continued success, and we really appreciate you and the work you do.
Okay, next on the list, we have public comment, and I believe we have people in the audience who are wishing to make a public comment this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and read our public comment citizen participation guidelines. It's long, bear with me. In order to maintain an orderly presentation of comments by the public, the following guidelines will apply. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less and are to be directed to the board members from the podium. When the allotted time expires, Mrs. Dodson will be timing you. The speaker will be permitted to complete their sentence, then return to the audience. If unable to complete comments in the allotted time, and you will be cut off, individuals are asked to submit remarks to the board in writing. Signs or posters may not be displayed at board meetings. Handouts may be left for board members at the podium. Public statements made at board meetings should relate to an agenda item for the current meeting, a recent or future meeting, or a matter of general policy over which the board has authority. Personnel matters, matters relating to individual students, pending appeals, the actions or statements of individual staff members, or items related to employee negotiations are not appropriate topics for citizen participation. Board members will not answer questions during citizen participation. Questions should be submitted in writing to the board. Responses will be provided in a timely manner. The board and/or superintendent reserves the right to correct misinformation presented during citizen participation. The board reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on a particular topic so that multiple topics may be addressed. The audience is asked to be respectful of public speakers and board members. The failure to comply may necessitate removal from the public meeting. Thank you for respecting these guidelines. Do I have a list? Do we have a list? The first signed up to speak is Thomas Mitchell. Are you here? You can step up to the podium if you wish.
We're together. Could Sally go first, please?
Sure, that's fine. Ms. Heckman, you can go first. That's fine.
Good evening. My name's Sally Heckman. I'm a retired pharmacist and I'm a president of an HOA in the town.
Excuse,
Can
yeah, can you
I
please,
ask
yeah.
you to speak into the
President
microphone?
of an HOA in the town of Trapp. I'm here today to inform you of a proposed concrete plant within the town of Trapp, within a few hundred feet of West Marsh Elementary School. I'm sorry, White Marsh Elementary School. And the reason why we're here is we believe the concrete plant, which is actually two plants, it's a concrete batching plant and a concrete pre-stressed facility. So the concrete is actually made there and then it goes out and distributed in with large concrete mixers. And also we believe that large concrete products like girders, etc., are going to be made there. So that's the situation that we believe is happening that is proposed. So why is it of concern to White Marsh Elementary is because we believe concrete plants are environmentally toxic. They are the worst pollutant in a concrete plant is particulate matter. This particulate matter is dust. It's particles, small and large particles from the concrete products, from the way it's made, and it's dust, and it permeates. It permeates everywhere. It's blown by the wind. These particles are very toxic. They're especially toxic to young lungs. They can inhibit the development of young lungs. They can exacerbate asthma and cause cardiovascular problems. And because of the close proximity of this proposed plant to White Marsh Elementary, we're very concerned. Also, the truck traffic may impinge upon the school buses. Now, a full concrete mixer weighs about 30 tons, okay? You've got concrete mixers, you've got large dump trucks bringing in the aggregate to make the concrete. You've got tankers coming in with concrete dust in it to fill the big silos that it's going to go in, okay? You've got all these big components coming in on huge trucks and then going out on these massive concrete mixers, okay? And then when they've made the concrete products, we don't know exactly what they'll make, but we believe they're large products. There'll be large flatbed trucks or large vehicles to remove these concrete products. And we feel that it's going to be a danger to the area, to people taking their children to school, picking them up from school, and also a hazard for the school buses. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Heckman. Mr. Mitchell, you are next.
Thank you for this opportunity, and my name is Tom Mitchell. I'm a local business guy in the Trapp area, and one of the shining stars of the area of Trapp is the White Marsh Elementary School. I find it's one of the reasons people want to move into town, because it's by far, we think it's the best elementary in the state of Maryland. So thank you for that wonderful school in Trapp. We're here just to make you aware of this potential threat to the school, to the members of the school, to the neighbors, to the business people. And Sally talked about the health aspects. I'm going to talk about the roads and the traffic. The exit and entrance to this plant. By the way, the plant was approved under a kind of a light industrial zoning, and the light industrial zoning assumed that there was a low impact industry and that do not create undue noise, odor, traffic, or aesthetic conditions harmful to residential neighborhoods. That definition was in place when the original one was approved 5 years ago. Now they're trying to upgrade it to a heavier industry, which brings with it a lot of much more complicated problems. But if you think about the area down there, if the cars and trucks are coming on and off of Old Trapp Road, how do you get from Old Trapp Road to Route 50, eastbound and westbound, in the summertime, especially with the beach traffic? You've either got to go all the way down Main Street, which means you go past the school, you go past home on Baker Park, you go past all the houses on Main Street to Barber Road, and there's a light there, or you go the other way and you go through all these neighborhoods and subdivisions up to Landorf Road. You can't possibly get out on Route 50 and turn left in the summertime with the traffic to the beach, and if you want to go westbound, like to Anne Arundel County. So the roads are a big issue. They have not told us what the route will be, but there's not much choices. They're on Old Trapp Road, and you got to get off of it to Route 50. So we're asking for your at least knowledge and support, if possible, in the Grandparents Club and the parents and the residents and the neighbors. I personally visited one of these plants, and let me tell you, it is a dirty, nasty operation. The feeder roads were all covered with the dust. I mean, it looked like there was snow on the roads that all went to this gigantic, ugly plant behind fences. And it's something that, it's the last thing we need in Trapp. Trapp is coming back very nicely now. So I can see the parents pulling their kids out of school once they see the size and the magnitude of this plant. It would be a real crime and a big shame to put it in a little town like Trapp. So that's it. Thank you very much. And again, thanks for the White Marsh job you all are doing. It's terrific.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mitchell. We're going to move on to board committee reports. Does anybody have a report to share this month? Yes, sir.
I didn't sign in, but I'd like to speak on the same subject.
Sure. We will back up one to public comment. Please step up to the podium and introduce yourself for the board, please.
My name is Brian Halls. I live at 6900 Schoolhouse Lane in Royal Oak, Maryland. I actually own the property where this plant is proposed to be on. I'm 66 years old. I went to school here in the 1st and 2nd grade, and guess where all the concrete was made? Right over here at Mr. Norris Taylor's, a stone's throw from this schoolyard, okay? I'm a 77 graduate of Easton High School, senior class president, went to University of Maryland. Health seems to be fine. I'm a triathlete. But anyway, I don't see the relevance with all the air quality. Tom talked about the roads. Backtown Road is not restricted. The people that come out of the grain mill go north on 50. They make a left at the Honda dealer, and they come up Old Trapp Road, and they come right across the front of my property and make the right-hand turn and go south. Backtown Road, which he didn't mention, is not restricted. If they do restrict it, it's going to mess up all the operations for the grain mill. There shouldn't be any trucks going past the school at all for any reason, because you can't go through the town of Trapp with a heavy truck. So I don't know where that concern is. If you want to look at a very similar operation to what you're going to see down there, it would be Gillespie Concrete in Chestertown, Maryland, which is right adjacent to Chesapeake College and has a housing subdivision right directly behind it. All of these things that Sally and Mr. Mitchell talked about are controlled. Air quality, water quality, and all that is controlled by the state of Maryland. So the property is zoned industrial, and I'm not sure why it's even on the agenda tonight. It's really kind of bizarre to me, but I figured I better come and kind of defend what's going on. So it's bizarre to me that people are trying to fight something and the trucks aren't even going to be going by the school at all. And it's at least equidistant from what Norris Taylor's concrete plant here was for 75 years. And it is at least equidistant to the plant that's at Gillespie Concrete next to the state highway facility in Chestertown, Maryland. So I encourage anyone who wants to think this is a horrible thing. Mr. Mitchell is a developer, and the first thing you need in any construction project is concrete. So I just wanted to come in and say my piece tonight, and like I say, I don't even know why it's on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Point of clarification, public comment is whatever people choose to speak on, so we did not put it on the agenda. Just making sure the public is aware. We're going to go past board committee reports because I think nobody has one this month. And we're going to move on to new business, which it seems like there is also nothing on the agenda. Excellent. Moving on to unfinished business, we have one item to vote on as a consent agenda item. This information was presented at the board work session on Monday. We do need to vote on this unless anybody has any further conversation questions to have at this point.
I just have a concern. I don't know if it's, I just wanted to maybe just ask the fellow board members that explain the narrowing of the gap with the special ed. I don't know to whom I would present this question. Is it? But just to explain the narrowing, well, it's not up there, but the narrowing of the gap that, the special ed is not up to speed with gen ed, and yet gen ed is not up to speed where we should be as well. So there is one thing we should narrow the gap is with the general population. We're at 12% proficient in math. Do you all understand that? That's what we saw on Monday night. So I guess I'm just curious as to the narrowing of the gap with the special ed and gen ed. And I just want to ask, how about narrowing the gap between the 12% proficient and those proficient in general ed? Like, what about that gap?
I think that's why we're trying to add instructional assistants and moving them.
I don't
Unless
think
I'm
it's
wrong.
an unfair question to ask. I just don't see how it is directly related to special ed staffing. And I think, again,
Okay.
valuable point for sure. We have to talk about our math scores. We have to talk about how we're going to increase them. We have to talk about our efforts behind math. And we have a workshop tomorrow evening to talk about our yearly goals. Maybe that's one of them that we have. That said, the task before us is to address the special ed staffing plan and vote on that, which was presented.
Okay. And is the one special ed instructional assistant from Easton Elementary to Easton Middle School due to students with specific needs? Because in the other, I thought I read it was emotional and behavioral needs. So it wasn't specifically to special ed to Easton Middle.
My recollection was that that particular role was for a staff member to follow a particular student or students from Easton Elementary to Easton Middle. Is that correct, Ms. Minches?
Is Ms. Benches here? Sorry, I can't see. Can you, do you mind just answering the question about that particular point?
Yeah, so this instructional assistant is following several students who they know at Easton Easton Elementary School to Easton Middle School, who they've been working with.
Which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is part of the staffing plan in general. You evaluate the students that you have, what grades that they are in, and the specific need then for that particular grade. So if there's a cohort in third grade, they might require more special ed IAs and teachers to follow them as they move to fourth grade, as they move to fifth grade. In this case, it's one teacher who knows this cohort of students who is needed at Easton Middle. I'm guessing this is probably a cohort of students moving from fifth grade to sixth grade.
Correct, yes.
It isn't explicitly said, but one can kind of do the math. But that is kind of what happens every year, right, with special ed staffing and their work with particular students, because we're small enough to know individual kids on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, and we typically don't do this, but in these particular students' case, we felt it was the best option for these students.
I appreciate the thought behind this particular move, especially as we talk about students who do have a greater level of need, whether it be instructional or behavioral. This seems to be forward thinking, saying, hey, these kids need more from us, so let's make sure we get ahead of it rather than wait for it to become a problem and try and address it mid-year or next year when it already has been a problem. So this seems to be more of a proactive solution than we have done in the past, and I appreciate that thinking. Are there more questions for Ms. Menchez? We've bumped this out of consent agenda, so feel free to discuss away if you have anything else to talk about the staffing plan or any follow-up questions to our discussion on Monday. Okay, then I make a motion that we accept the staffing plan as presented by Ms. Menchez at our work session, the special education staffing plan for school years 26-27 as presented on Monday.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you, and thank you, Ms. Menchez. Next on our list is other unfinished business. We're going to start by talking about the cell phone ban plan for school year 26-27. I like that ban plan.
So, as you are well aware, there was legislation that was passed for a bell-to-bell plan. We do have in policy 10.19, which speaks to cell phones and communication devices such as that. However, the AR has to be changed, which are the practices and the implementation. We had leadership retreat the last 2 days in which a discussion was had with secondary principals, Ms. Spurrier and Dr. Einhorn, to propose operationalizing this bell-to-bell plan and what that could look like. So right now, we have Yonder pouches at our middle schools. We started off at Easton Middle. We then moved it to St. Michael's Middle. And the feedback we've heard is that it's a deterrent, right? And as much as we can hear, kids doing this, overall, it is a deterrent. Students do not have their cell phones out, and teachers can do more instructional teaching in the classroom. And the steps for that currently are, the first offense, if a student does have their phone, it's taken to the office and the student picks up their phone at the end of the day. The second offense is the phone is taken to the office and a parent has to pick up the phone. That's what currently is in place right now. If the third offense happens, an office referral and a parent has to pick up the phone. And then the fourth offense is office referral and the phone is kept for the remainder of that quarter. So the discussion that was had with the secondary principals, Ms. Spurrier and Dr. Einhorn, was a proposal to roll the Yonder pouches up to the high school. Now, with this is a cost, we know. We guesstimated about $40,000 for this, and this is all high school students for the Yonder pouch. So right now, the discussion is looking at various budgets, having ideas on how to do that, but we wanted to just talk to you about that discussion. And the reason why the Yonder pouch is because by saying, bring your phone and just put it away, we fear that administrators and teachers are still going to be all day policing phones. They're going to be taking them out, the earbuds, the watch, it's going to be out, and that's going to be all the time versus having it locked up in a pouch, still on the person, but as the middle schools have it. So that is the recommendation that came out of the discussion that we had the last 2 days. We know across the state, everyone is grappling and having conversations about this bell to bell and what this looks like, but I just wanted to throw that out to the board.
You know, there's eyeglasses now that can do some of that. I've seen them.
I think as long as the consequences are there, I would be for it. I mean, I was kind of thinking we wouldn't have to deal with the yonder pouch, but then you'd have to have a big bad person in the front of the school. I think everybody walking in, make sure you don't have your phone. So I think as long as the consequences are laid out and followed through, I don't think you can have. So, what do you guys think?
I don't think we have $40,000. I don't know where we're coming up with this money. We barely met our own budget this year. I really worry about that. I also think that there has been some very valid and interesting points. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I am for a bell-to-bell plan. The state is moving in that direction. I think it is really important we get ahead of that. I don't think kids need their phones out at all, period. The question has kind of been answered for us. I appreciate that we are ahead of the curve on this one. I just don't know, that we have $40,000. I'm not sure where. Maybe you have a rabbit to pull out of a hat. I don't see Sarah here tonight, and she's usually the one with the magic tricks. But so that is a concern. And also, I think that we, whether we can, we received an anonymous public comment, and so the validity of anonymous is hard, and we, as you know, we have to sort of discuss that. However, the points raised in that comment, I think were pretty valid. There are some reasons why older students, and I'm particularly thinking of 11th and 12th graders, might need more immediate access to their phone. I'm not saying during class time, as opposed to a 7th grader is accurate and valid. And the idea of locking it up with the potential for not having it unlocked, I think presents some consequences that we might consider. And I would just say, for example, my kid, I have a driver, and the key to his car is his phone. So if he forgets to unlock it or leaves it locked and can't get into his car, that presents a whole series of problems. If he needs to unlock his car for his sister, if somebody forgets something, and that's just my first, hey, maybe we should think about this. I also would really like to see our admin lean in. The consequences are pretty well outlined for what the ramifications are if you use your phone. I think that we have the ability to police in the same way. And final point, I have heard a lot of people saying high school students are older, they need to have more responsibility. Is this an opportunity for learning to put your phone away? You have to learn it at some point. You're not going to take it in college. And again, the difference between a freshman and a senior is light years difference, and it's sort of hard that we're talking about brand new to high school and also more mature kids. I don't know. That's my knee-jerk reaction. I'm not sure. I come back to we don't have $40,000. So if somebody could tell me where we're going to get that money, that would be a good place to start.
Well, I think the other problem is not just the 40,000, but the damage that's going to be done. I mean, I have a suspicion we'll be constantly having to replace those, and not just policing the cell phones, but policing the replacement of the bags and the costs associated with that the families are expected to take on. So, and again, I agree with, we do have to have a level teaching them as a whole students, and encouraging that level of responsibility. And obviously, there are those that can handle it and those that cannot handle it, but the back end of the administration will be
And I hear the pouch replacements, but I also know with students having cell phones, and this comes from the conversation of the administrators or what they see every day, taking cell phones and putting them in the office, something happens to that phone, where then possibly opens up to a parent saying we did something to the phone and having to replace the phone.
But isn't that part of the consequence, whether we have the pouch or not?
Well, if it's in the pouch, it's locked up. So
Something could still happen
pouch
to the
is
phone
locked.
in the pouch.
what's that?
Something could still happen to the phone in the pouch.
Well, it's less likely for something to happen to the phone if it's sealed in the pouch and it's on their person versus us taking the phone. You have your phone out, give me your phone, we're taking it, putting it in the office.
Well, there's
So-
also a level, some of them may not be secured. So, we are invading some privacy, or they could be suspected that, hey, you're looking at my phone.
Yeah, that came up in the conversation.
What is the rate of pouch replacement at Easton Middle and St. Michael's Middle currently? Like, how many are we having to replace every year?
I could find out that exact number, and I don't know if that came up in the conversations.
We did have that in our budget for this year, but I don't have that number with me, but I can follow up with Ms. Jones to get that.
Does every student have a locker?
Yes, they have a locker.
Could we make it a policy, phones have to go in the lockers at the beginning of the day, and they could take them out at the end of the day?
Was that discussed?
It was, the problem with that is then students are going to their locker during the day for different things. I forgot something. It's always a temptation. And we know from the research, and I know Ms. O'Connor, you've shared a lot with us, that students almost become addicted to their phone. So just having it in your pocket is a temptation just to take it and look at it, just like we do as adults. It's become part of our regular day. And the concern is if we have a policy that is requiring a bell-to-bell ban, then we need to make sure that we have systems in place that allow us to do that with a level of fidelity. And while I do recognize that our older students do have more reasons to be using their phone, apprenticeships, those types of things, if our policy and our AR says we are expecting our administrators to enforce a bell-to-bell cell phone ban, then even for those reasons, they shouldn't be pulling it out of their pocket to check. So it's just having that level of support to make sure that our school personnel can enforce the policy and the administrative regulations of the board. That's the concern.
Did Sarah Jones weigh in on how we would cover this cost at all? Did she have any thoughts on that?
I don't know if she was part of that, but some of the suggestions that came up were looking at remaining funds from any grants that we have. The Education Foundation, I'm just listing some of the things that came up in the conversation.
I bet you parents would pay. I mean, I know, like, I wonder if we could see what families would, what is it, $30 a pouch? I mean, I still say it depends on the consequence. If you roll this out, how are we informing parents and community members? Like, there will be no phones at this school.
Well,
and I like
ahead.
the pouch because it is the barrier. It's like it's a barrier for the teacher. It might not work. The kids might, yes, use a different pouch, but it's still another barrier for the teacher, so he or she doesn't have to fight with the kid. And then if they do see it out, okay, you did not put it in the pouch, and there's tier 1 or.
Well, with this, it's definitely going to be a full court press as far as communication. I mean, we would like statements from the board, from community members, from inside the school, from parents, a whole, almost like a communication campaign around this bell-to-bell. And we're talking about what that can look like.
I just want to clarify that this is the rule, period. There are no phones allowed bell to bell
Correct.
at all. And this
Correct.
discussion at the moment is whether we go with the barrier of the yonder pouch or not. I think we're all in agreement, and our policy supports saying we're done. Cell phones are not allowed in school at all, period, no more.
Right, but it's how to enforce that.
Wondering, are there other high schools in Maryland that you're familiar with that have been using the yonder pouches?
And I know you said there's,
So I tried to do some very quick research, and Rockville High School in Montgomery County does have a cell phone ban. They do have some provisions where students can use it in some portions of the day. They do use yonder pouches for repeat offenders. They don't have it for every student.
Oh, so if you could say, okay, no cell phones. If we catch you with your cell phone, you're getting the yonder pouch.
How have they found that to enforce when you're not doing that across the board? And I almost wonder if that's more difficult.
That becomes a management system as well of tracking number of infractions when that happens.
Dr. Reinhardt, could you just pull your microphone a little closer? Thank you.
that becomes a management issue in terms of monitoring the infractions. And in high school, students have 5 different classes, 5 different teachers. Teachers have up to 120 students. So just trying to figure out who has pouch, who doesn't, becomes another logistical issue to be managed as well.
I feel like the answer is kind of what Easton Middle does is first period, the announcements come on, they say put your phone in your pouch. First period is responsible for getting your phone put in your pouch. But high school presents a whole different set of problems with cross-campus, kids who aren't there first period, kids who are doing dual enrollment first period. There's lots of kids in and out of the building, and so first period might not be the answer. So are you taking time out of every class period to be like, okay, now in second period, put your phone in your pouch. Now in third, like show me your pouch. Like how, I'm curious what that would look like so that we did get every student.
So we've done some very creative things at Easton Middle School to ensure that students can lock and unlock the pouches quickly. They have the magnets on carts that you've seen that they move to different spaces. So when our students come in late to school, if they don't have a first period class, they're signing in. Our cross-campus students are doing that. So you would just set something up right there as well, and whoever is monitoring the in and out would be the person to remind the students at that time.
I've personally heard tale from some Easton Middle staff members that, students might put their phones in the pouch, but they don't necessarily seal the pouch. I know they periodically do checks for that, and someone told me that one time they did a check and it was like however many kids are in the building, I forget the exact number, I know it's 700 and something, but it was only like 100 and some that actually had their phones sealed in the pouch. I know it's a deterrent to make them not necessarily pull them out, but if there's a large number not sealing them, then it makes me wonder.
And I have not heard that data. I can certainly look into that, but I do know that when both Ms. Clausen and Mr. Stoker here were presenting, I think both of them were able to speak to a lot of qualitative data of the value the pouches have had as a deterrent in using the phone. And I know we've also heard from many teachers who say they are glad they don't have to engage in that back and forth with students. They can really focus on instruction.
Well, the fact is, even if it's not sealed in the pouch, it's away in the pouch, right? So,
Right, and that's the point that they're not taking it out. But again, it's the consequence. I think it has to be pretty strong and fierce. So it's the kids do not take it out. They don't want to because they don't want to lose their phone.
I think the consequences in place make a lot of sense, and they just need to be enforced. Like the progressive discipline when it comes to phones makes sense, and it means losing your phone pretty quickly. With after your second infraction, it gets taken away. And can you just clarify, infraction 4, you lose your cell phone. Does that mean the school keeps it for the rest of the quarter, or they hand it over to your parent?
Office referral and phone is kept in office for the remainder of the quarter.
Okay, it's been a while since we talked about this,
Yeah.
so I wanted clarification. Are we getting pushback about that, about parents saying that's our device, we own that, you can't take it?
So I will tell you that both of your middle school principals who were tasked with implementing this in their school, they have worked with their administrative staff and their front office staff to handle many concerns from parents, especially when you first rolled this out. So they've taken a lot of one-on-one conversation with parents to discuss this. There will always be parents who are not happy with the rules that we have in place, but they've stood firmly with, these are the guidelines, this is our board policy, the administrative regulations that they are charged with enforcing. So they have handled that at the school level. It does take a lot of work on their part.
It's also going to be state law.
And I'm just thinking, to the locker, we can't search book bags, right? So if they don't put it in their locker, they could put it in their book bag and turn it off. But how do we, there's the temptation. It's like we all know as adults, I know addicted adults. It's like I sit down, I pull up my phone. I go to the bathroom, I pull out my phone. I'm sitting in line, I pull up my phone. It's breaking that habit. It's the distraction. So I don't know about how it's the enforcing of it again.
So I think what we need here is a motion to roll out yonder pouches to the high school or not. So my motion would be in favor of rolling out yonder pouches to the high school. We can take a vote.
I'll second.
All those in favor? I'm against. I don't think we have the money, but I will go on record as the lone no. We can take a roll call vote if you, yeah.
I'm for it, assuming we can find the money. Curiously enough, this says cell phone, which I say is this.
It's everything.
But, okay, making sure that
Yes,
that's clear.
yes.
This is going to be an added stress on admin and teachers. Every single teacher has to abide by this.
Yes, once the vote's finished, and I know it's a vote on the floor, it's a robust communication plan of this rollout.
Yeah, the policy isn't changing. The policy is pretty, it would be
Correct.
helpful if we shared the policy again so that we have a
Correct.
copy of it.
Correct.
We're
It's the
changing the
implement-
ARs, which
correct,
don't
which is the
actually
implementation.
require a vote because it's
Correct.
regulation, just for procedural standpoint. It's the question is how to enforce the AR and whether or not we will invest part of our
Correct.
budget in the
Correct.
yonder pouch. That's really what we're discussing right
So
now.
if-
The motion that's on the table is to spend the money on the yonder pouch, whatever it takes. You can amend the motion if you want to say borrowing funding or
Wait,
pending
one more
funding or
question.
whatever, but-
So if the student doesn't bring the phone to school, I'm saying if the student chooses to leave the phone in the car,
Right?
they don't have, I mean, right? Okay.
Yeah, it would just, because it wouldn't be in the school.
I would be curious, I mean, I know we'll find out next year how much time that's actually taken away from learning versus just letting it go to an extent.
So I do want to amend my motion to say it's the approval of yonder pouches for the high school pending funding.
I'll second that.
Ms. Brundage asked for a roll call vote. So we're going to start down here with Mrs. O'Connor. Everybody say your vote, yea or nay, and feel free to tell us why. Do you want to start on the
I
other
guess
end?
I vote yay for pending, but with the consequences. I mean, it's the consequences. I don't care what we have. We have to enforce the consequences.
Yay with consequences and funding.
Funding.
I vote no. I don't think that we have the funding. I don't think that this is an appropriate use of $40,000 at this moment. And I think that I'm all for the consequences. I like the progressive discipline. I think that we can enforce that without the yonder pouch, because I think that we will find that more kids left it at home or don't have it, or it just will become something that is kind of an unused item that we spend a lot of money on. So that's my stance.
Vote yay.
I'm going to agree with Emily. I'm voting no because I think we need more study on it. And I would like, if it does end up being approved, because we magically find the money, I would want to know next year how much time was taken away, added to taking away of the learning time.
So will you let us know what Mrs. Jones has to say about the
Yes.
funding so that then we know if we're carrying this forward? or not?
Absolutely. So our next step now is to expedite funding mechanisms and options.
Just for anybody listening, not watching the past 4-2, just FYI. Motion passed 4-2. Any more questions, discussion about cell phones before we move on? Okay. My computer shut off. Next, we have unfinished business. Ooh, a weapons detection update.
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to revisit where we stood with the weapons detection update. Last we talked, we were going to pilot a walkthrough, the metal detectors at our fall sports for both campuses, both Easton and St. Michael's. The next steps are the focus group that looked initially at our weapons detections has reconvened. They have a meeting with 3 or 4 vendors. They're going to meet They want to bring forth, and you have the steps, they want to bring forth in September the recommended vendor to you for September and discuss the pilot from the fall sports, the athletic fields, from October to December. At that time, we know Safe Schools is also going to be putting out their report about weapons detection. Simultaneously, we will be in our budget discussion already, so we can talk about the vendor that was selected, what we heard, and make a decision as to how to move forward. Because we still have the money that we have earmarked to be used for weapons detection.
Sorry if this is a repeat question from last month, but is there a date on which we have to spend that money? I know there has been in the past.
I don't think so, but I'll confirm.
That would be helpful, because if we're moving into next budget cycle already, the discussion, does this need to be spent
Right.
before something?
I thought we had already discussed getting it, and we had the prices. What happened?
So we're doing the pilot, but there was more intricate AI systems that could span across the whole district, like not just on sports fields, but in schools and everywhere. That's what the committee is looking at.
More questions about this at this time?
Does the committee include law enforcement?
Yes.
Who else is on that committee? Just like
Mr. Schaefer is leading it, but I could find out who the different people are.
I think that would be helpful just to know which perspectives we are getting, and making sure that we are including community members and parents
Yeah.
and,
Dr.
a
Horsey.
a wide variety of voices.
So I would like to add that we have technology, law enforcement, we have school administration on the committee, myself, Mr. Schaefer, that comprise the team.
Was Sheriff Gamble involved, or?
Yes, they send law enforcement.
I would love to make sure, I know that some of your parents, you just mentioned some people who I know have kids in the system, but that there is a really strong parent voice in this committee. And I want to take sensitivities around weapons detection into consideration. There has been a variety of discussions about this over the years, and so I want to make sure we're including different community groups who might have strong feelings either way. So just to make sure we're looking at this from all angles and everybody feels like their voice is represented in this discussion, in part because there's a wide variety of budgets involved, but there's just a wide variety of invasion of privacy is the wrong word, but when thinking about what you're subjecting your student to, what that feels like as a parent, what that feels like as a student, I want everybody to feel safe at school, and that comes in a lot of different forms. So just making sure we're looking at as many perspectives in this conversation as we can.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Dr. P. Next, we have personnel report with Dr. Horsey.
Good evening again. I would just like to ask that the personnel report be approved as discussed in closed session.
I'll second that.
You got to make the motion.
I motion that we accept the personnel report as presented in closed session.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on, we have a robust superintendent's report, so take it away, Dr. P.
So I'll just start with the summer school update. Summer school is underway. I gave you just a brief summary of that, including the numbers. All students were pre-tested, but we'll give you the final post-test data as that concludes. So I just wanted to give you that update.
The note that you've provided to the board indicates, and you mentioned this Monday night, that students were chosen if they were in the high red range or the yellow range. What about the low range red students? Do we not care about those students getting summer school?
No, but that was the decision, just looking at knowing K2 literacy and knowing what the targeted students that we were working with for interventions.
So there's plenty of kids in the low red range in K-2
Yeah.
that need literacy help.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I say moving forward, we decide what that's going to look like.
I'm sorry, Dr. P. I don't mean to speak for you, but I feel like you're not really fully describing why we chose those students, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the board set a goal of moving our K-2 students 5%
Correct.
in literacy.
Correct.
And what I'm hearing from you is that students were selected to go to summer school based on their, the ability to move them. So
No, I
if-
don't think it's the ability
If they
to
were
move.
in that high category and that they could be moved into the proficient category, it sounds like those students were selected because they were on the cusp, which meets our
Right,
goal, right?
correct, correct.
It goes to the underlying what the board had asked. And as we move into our discussion about what our goals are for next year, this feels like an unintended consequence that we should keep in mind. Because if we are only looking to move students and if we are only looking at those percentages, then who are we ignoring? Who didn't
Correct.
get invited to summer school because they won't make that 5% gain? Is that what happened? Not that anybody intended to do harm, but was this an unintended consequence of that number of those kids being on the bubble?
Yes, I will agree with you, an unintended consequence. I had a meeting today, and I was just curious of what summer school looks like on the shore. And it was the same model where there was this much money, and they decided we're going to target these students. From prior, and I talked to superintendents, and they said prior we had grant money, we were able to do this. We had to scale it back. And so, yes, unintended consequences. Yes, I think there's some things that we can and will do differently moving forward. But yes to your question.
So when we set the goal for K-2 literacy, I believe that goal was for all students in K through 2, correct?
Correct?
So why then again are we leaving out students on the low end of the red scale when they would be considered our most in need learners?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think there's interventions that were taking place all through the year, and the decision of the team was to look at what interventions we're going to continue doing with students. And that was how it was created. I know Dr. Einhorn took lead on this, but that is, what the decision was in creating our summer school programming.
Because we wanted to see an increase of 5% in the proficient range. That's what we asked for. The board asked for, we want to see a 5% growth, 5% more kids proficient. So it would seem like, and we didn't ask the team to do this, this was a decision that they made based on what we set as our large goal. Was it a misstep? I mean, that's not what I intended when I said grow this 5%. I don't think it was at all. But it seems like the team said, okay, how are we going to meet that number and get that growth? Let's find the closest kids and make sure that they grow. So that adds to our 5% number because they were right there. They were on the bubble. Am I right? I wasn't part of this discussion. I wasn't, but when I take a 40,000-foot view, it seems like this is what happened.
Well, yeah, and I think to Ms. O'Connor's comment, we just saw the data of students with disabilities without, and not just that subgroup, but all of our subgroups that I think we need to take a deep dive in to look at the data to see where we need to move in the next right moves that we're going to focus on.
Well, and I guess that's what I think about is if you're talking about K-2 students and you're talking about the low red students, are there students among those who have yet undiagnosed learning disabilities? And so now they're left out of summer school. We know that students have learning gaps, during that time. And so by not including those most challenged students, are they being left behind all the more when they might in fact have the potential with these interventions to be able to progress, whether they could get to proficiency or not, but to progress?
Absolutely. I think yes is to your question. I think it's looking at all the students that we have, whatever needs who we invited, to make sure that we're accommodating those needs. And we do have a wide range of needs currently in summer school.
I mean, data shows that if you have increased programming over the summer, you stop the summer slide, you help kids stay at least maintain trajectory as opposed to losing it. Everything points to those students in the low red could have been massively helped with summer school. We weren't a part of this discussion. It kind of feels a little segmented. We said we set the goal, it kind of went to here, and then somewhere down here this decision was made. I would suggest to the board that this becomes a part of our discussion. Maybe this is a secondary goal to talk about what are we doing for kids year round. We have very gently broached the subject of looking at a year-round model for a calendar for school. I don't think we're there yet. But how are we providing services to our kids who need it over the summer? What does that look like? What are we doing as far as funding goes? How are we staffing? That all of those things we've pulled way back on due to budgetary concerns. But I think maybe it's time we look harder at that as a tool in our tool belt to help with our overall academic numbers.
So obviously you weren't here last month, but part of what was presented last month, that our K-2 literacy goals were not just hit at 5%, they were hit at 35%, correct? So before the end of the school year, we knew that. And therefore, again, the most in need learners were left out. And that was not discussed with the board. I don't know who was part of that team. But when I personally agreed to the K-2 literacy, I assumed it meant all K-2 students, not that we were segmenting our most in need learners. And I get your point as well, Ms. Jackson, about it being an unintended consequence, but it's extremely upsetting.
Do we have a mechanism in place after these students are finished that will be following these 92? I see Dr. Einhorn shaking her head to see if it is, if our efforts were.
Yes, and I just want to be extremely clear, and I've shared with this with Ms. Dobson before. It was never an intent to have any parent feel that their student was excluded from summer school. Our summer school programming was based on budget as well. We know from our data that high impact tutoring during the school year is giving us better results with students, and also making sure that we have reading teachers, reading coaches in our building, and also instructional assistants to provide that intensive learning during the school year. Our summer school data has not shown that gains that students make over the summer translate into academic gains in the school year. Yes, it does for some students prevent a summer slide, but it doesn't accelerate learning for students. So based on trying to accomplish during the school year tutoring, having the reading positions in our school, and having to budget for summer school, we decided to go with a very targeted program to see if doing something like that could move those students from yellow-red so that they would not need an intervention when they return back to school, so we can open up more intervention for students who need more intensive during the school year. So there was a lot of intent behind it. I do think moving forward, it would be very helpful if the board provided some parameters, but also a conversation about the budget that's associated with running a summer school program that truly could meet so many needs. We know we also need to bring students in for mathematics, and then what that budget would look like, and then how we could accomplish that with some of the other instructional things we're trying to do during the school year. So again, I just want to be clear, it was never an intent to not think some students were as important. It was to say, how can we use these resources to move these students to proficient and open up more resources for those students who had greater need during the school year, which is when we see the greatest growth for our students who need the most.
I guess this makes me think about our ability potentially to use some of our tutoring funds over the summer to help support kids over the summer so that they don't lose the ground that they have gained, and so that we can also help those who need much more assistance.
We just had a speaker at ESMIC talk about the importance of summer school and how if a student participates in summer school, that the teacher in the new school year doesn't spend the next, first 4 to 6 weeks of the school year catching that student back up. So we've seen that from research and other ways, and again, it just feels very exclusionary to have left those very most in need students out.
Mrs. Jones isn't here tonight, and so she's not capturing this, but we had a long conversation about summer school last year after the funds were cut dramatically, and we had said, hey, we're not really excited about that. We'd really like to see a more robust summer school program. And it didn't, that thought didn't translate to our budget this year. We did not have a more robust summer school program. And so I am asking if we could please capture this discussion tonight, to have the board involved in that discussion much earlier, to have a more of a light shined on summer school. We do want to be involved in that conversation. We have expressed an interest in increasing our funds towards summer school. So if we could just make sure that is part of our initial budget when we are first presented, and that it stays in the budget as something that we have expressed repeatedly as a priority to us, that would be great. Whether we transfer some of our tutoring funds to that, I think that's a fantastic idea. We have talked about outside of the box ideas as far as it comes to tutoring. Why not summertime?
Well, and looking at tutoring, in and of itself over the summer as well.
What about MCIE? Do they have anything, I mean, is there a grant for special ed specifically for special ed that we could tap into for the special ed population?
I mean, that's something that can be looked at. I mean, I would not want to specifically have programming isolated like that, especially since we're working on inclusive practices. But, I mean, we can explore.
I mean, if there is a grant available that would allow us to pay a special education teacher to be there for summer school, I think that could be really helpful. I know that we have talked about how we are resource constrained with summer school, and maybe some of our special education learners need more support, and therefore it takes more dollars to educate them during summer school. If we could find those dollars in a grant, that would be great. It comes back to the grant writer position that we talk about a lot, so maybe we think about including that in our budget as a high priority item. And again, too bad Mrs. Jones is not here for this one. Somehow we're all talking about budget again. But if we could just make sure that those two items get in front of her, I think that would be important.
Yes. So back to the grant writer, also at ESMIC, the gentleman who was speaking said they hired 2 grant writers at a cost of $300,000, but those 2 grant writers found $70 million. So arguing not having a grant writer just seems like, ridiculous. We need to add that. We need to have a grant writer.
Anybody else with summer school questions right now? Okay. Thank you. What else do we have?
So public comment explanation. So we have public comments sometimes during our board meetings. And so I wanted to take the time to have on public, because in many instances, we may follow up with the person who gives a public comment and have a meeting with the person and explain, but it's not open for the public to hear. So I went back from January to capture different comments that I wanted to explain, factual information, so that the public can hear what those topics were and what the conversations that were had, either with myself or someone from my team, with the person who gave public comment. So in January, we had a gentleman speak on a request for a policy to be created for students to participate in extracurricular activities and sports at different county schools. And so the explanation to that is a student cannot be duly enrolled in 2 schools at the same time. For example, homeschool students cannot be participate in, and that was the explanation to that. February, we may have had a comment, but it was due to like grading, and so through our grading process, those things were answered just naturally. In March, though, we had a gentleman speak. He came back March and April and talked about curriculum concerns, specifically the curriculums that were chosen for our students. He felt that were not appropriate. We did have meetings with my team, with him. We have a curriculum adoption process that includes our staff, where we have materials that are vetted. We have a public comment period in which we did not receive any comments on the materials that we did have. Therefore, the materials that we used have been adopted. So I just wanted the public to know that we do have a very robust process in how we pick our curriculum materials that we use. And then last, in June, we had someone speak on security concerns, in which we are working on security plans. And then also, they talked about the pantry bus being used for tutors instead of for food. So they had said the suggestion of using our pantry bus, which is a community school bus that we have right now. That need for that bus and what's going to take place on that bus has yet to be determined. However, every school, community school, has a needs assessment that goes out to the families to decide what the needs are for that school. So our community bus, the discussions are being had, and you can probably see it. It's parked out there. It has its tag already. But the discussions now are, what will that bus be used for? We do already have tutors in our schools, so I highly doubt that tutors will be a part of that community bus. But once those decisions are made, we'll make sure that we report out.
To the point that the speaker made last month, she claimed that the board approved funding for that bus, but that bus was in fact grant funded, was it not?
Correct. And that's part of the blueprint.
It was not voted on by this board because it was grant funded and it did not need to be, correct?
Correct.
And speaking to that, you can't teach a kid who's hungry.
So, and what we will do is continue to make sure that we are giving information to the public.
Yes, I appreciate that. And we have talked about this and just want to make sure that we are, this is really helpful. We want to make sure that we are more timely with our responses so that we will be seeing that in future meetings, more immediate responses to miscommunications, maybe misunderstandings, maybe things that people don't have just quite right. So as it says in our public comment policy, the board and the superintendent have the ability to correct misinformation, which we will try to do our best at. We are always looking to be more transparent with the community, and I think that that is an effort to do so. I just wanted to clarify your very first point about dual enrollment. You can't be enrolled at two schools at the same time.
Correct.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit, that means that you cannot be a student enrolled at St. Michael's High School and play on a Easton High School sports team. And that is not something that we have decided on our own. That is a state regulation or law.
And I'm looking at Ms. Berger.
It's not, whether we feel differently or not, it doesn't even matter. The state says you can't do that. And it is to make it more fair for all students at all schools to have access to fair sports teams and access to play sports and to be involved in clubs so that we're not cherry picking from the very best students and leaving people out.
Correct. Thank you for that. Okay. I want to share Read Alliance, which was a reading program that took place at Easton Elementary School. It was a partnership between Talbot Mentors, BAM, and TCPS. The funding for this came from outside of our district. And the funding, there were high school teens that were paid to instruct students in the area of reading, high impact tutoring. It was a tutoring model that took place after school. For a period of time. And so the results were favorable in that students did increase their literacy levels. So I just wanted to share that. So conversations are being had now as to, what happens next. Is there a way to continue with this? I know Talbot Mentors is currently out and about looking for funding.
I just want to talk about how we have been, as a board, requesting this kind of model for so long. It's so great to see it finally implemented. I know some of the kids involved, and I think that it was hugely beneficial on a personal level. Clearly, on an academic level, it was beneficial, but I think that everybody walked away with something great from this. I love the idea of an older peer model. I think it's fantastic. And I also just want to give kudos to the program that decided to pay the teenagers. Community service is really important, and I think that we have a lot of very community-minded students, but they also need to learn the importance of having a job and showing up and being paid for work that they are doing. And this is work, and they're doing a really good job. So free labor is not really a fair thing to ask of anybody, and the fact that we invested in our students in that way, our older students, I think shows a lot of faith on the part of our community. So kudos to everybody involved.
Love to see this program expanded.
Yes, in their conversations.
Funny you should mention that. So I talked to Dr. Pepakaye last month. I'm trying to, I'll be meeting with the Talbot County Council on Aging, trying to get them to volunteer for K through 12 and develop a reading program. And I'm trying to use these as guidelines.
So, yeah, they did their presentation, Talbot Mentors, at the Avalon. And I know personally, I didn't know they were paying, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. This is great. So I do think there is a great plethora of people, of a huge retirement community that would absolutely get involved in this. So I don't know if he is involved in the volunteer part of it or no.
Well, right now, Talbot Mentors is taking the lead in securing donors and other people to be part of this right now. So we just had the summary of this, and so it's now conversations of what can this look like moving forward.
After we do reading, then we'll do math.
But Ms. Weiland, Chair, you have contacted someone who is
I'll
interested
be
in volunteering.
meeting with Rachel, I don't recall her last name, with the Council on Aging in August.
That's great. I remember that there is another program at one of our schools where I think it's Londonderry has come together to support our students in reading. And I think that is an excellent model. We do have many people in this community who would like to help out in that way. And it's wonderful to see our teens. I think it's beneficial for them in many, many ways, as well as our young readers and students.
I want to add too that there is also a club, and I'm sorry, I don't know which one it is, who is doing STEM activities with students as well. And they are doing that on a community service basis. But we are engaging kids in other things than just literacy, although literacy is our goal, and this is great. There are other kind of smaller things happening too.
So we have our class of 2026 update. You could see class of 2026 by the numbers. Wish everyone much luck as they go on to their next chapter, and just a summary of where our very talented students are going and what they are doing. And we will have that out posted as well. Giant Foods are nourishing our youth program, shopping at Easton Giant Food between July 10th and August 6th. You could round up at the register, so I just wanted to make sure we put that up because it benefits the district's lunch and nutrition programs. And then we had our very first Popsicles in the Park. The Easton date was rained out, so we moved it to August 11th. This was St. Michael's, though. We had about 75 students and families that came out. It was a beautiful day for just reading. We partnered with Talbot County Free Library, and the Judy Centers came out and gave out materials to families. So it was really nice talking to families of our earliest learners. Gave away free books, popsicles. They heard about programs that were taking place this summer at the library, and just having great conversations. So,
I love that this program is growing.
what's that?
It's been, this is the fourth year you've done this, third year, and it is definitely
Yeah, I
growing
think so,
bigger. And
yeah.
I like that it is catching hold and becoming a nice tradition.
Yeah, and it's nice to meet families who may not have students yet in the system, and to be able to meet them and have conversations with them. Upcoming events, you could see there, July, as we're actually halfway through, and then August will be here before you know it, with new teachers reporting on the 4th. And so the team is gearing up for our new teachers to come through our doors. The last 2 days, we did have our leadership retreat. We have one more in August, so we are preparing for the 26-27 school year. I do want to announce that our Director of Technology, Mr. Steve Wilson, this is his last board meeting, although you're welcome to come back, you know. But I just want to personally thank him for everything he's done over the many years here at Talbot County Public Schools, and we appreciate your work. And best of luck. I know you're going to be enjoying the grandkids and everything else that you'll have time to do now. Additionally, I meant to do this in June, I wanted to personally thank, number one, my team, we're probably more busy in the summer than we are during the school year, just getting ready for everything. We have new grading, as you all well know. They are preparing for what does that communication look like now, the FAQs for parents, for teachers. So all of that is underway, as well as our multi-tiered system of support. But just gearing up, making sure that we're ready for at least the first 9 weeks of school and starting off very strong with our communication, and our consistency in our schools. And then finally, just want to personally thank my administrative assistant, Faith, for everything of working with our board, keeping everything that we do here moving smoothly. And so I just wanted to personally thank you for a successful year as we gear up for another year.
All right. Any questions for Dr. P? She went through a lot of stuff. No? Okay, we'll move on to closing remarks, and I'm going to start on this side this time. We'll start with Ms. Whelan-Cherry.
Good golly. I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Wilson, and appreciate everything. I'm sure you were involved with my kids on a computer a few years ago at a time or two. And just thank everybody, hoping that you guys are getting a chance to enjoy some summertime. I did buy a boat, so if you guys want to call me on a Friday, I'll take you for a ride and teach you how to swim. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Jurius?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Minjez, for answering all of the questions that we've had both over the work session and here tonight regarding the special ed staffing program. We appreciate your thoughtful responses. I think we were able to talk about various issues in addition to staffing. And thank you to Dr. P and to everyone also for continuing to look at how we can support our students during the summer to support those who need to move forward as well as to bridge learning gaps. Thank you also for addressing the safety and security of our students, moving that forward. Really appreciate the learning about the Reading Alliance and our other reading partnerships and partnerships with the community. I think there's a lot of opportunity for that out there. Big congratulations and thank you to Mr. Wilson. I know you have done so much to advance our use of technology over the years. I know as a board we really appreciate your whole team's support. So congrats to you and best wishes for your retirement. And I would also echo the thanks to Ms. Brundage for all that you do to support us all and keep us all on track. Thank you very much.
Mrs. O'Connor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wilson, for your time with our students, especially personally my own kids. And I just really look forward to this rollout of the cell phone policy. And I just want to iterate that we need to look at the consequences and hone in on what those will be and enforce those and have everybody on board and have our parents, community members, this is what's happening. Students, this is what's happening. So do not bring your phone to school. All right, have a great July, everybody.
Ms. Bridges?
I would just like to thank our community. When you see all the money that went to all of our students to get them on their way, whether it be college or wherever they were going on their career, that was a lot of money that our community came up with, and we are very, very blessed to be in this community. And Mr. Wilson, I hope you have a wonderful retirement, and thank you for everything you've done for us.
Ms. Dodson?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. You will be missed. Whoever comes in has big shoes to fill. I also wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Miller. He and his wife are fantastic teachers, and our county is lucky to have them. As most of you know, I have a student at Talbot County Public Schools who is an ingoing second grader. He has Down syndrome. When he was born, we spent 2 months in the intensive care unit at Johns Hopkins. He had heart surgery at 12 days old, and it's very hard to see your newborn baby on a ventilator. So the point I'm trying to make by telling you this is that I have had to advocate and push for him since the day he was born. And unintended consequence or not, students like him being left out to summer school is personally hurtful. Thank you.
I too want to say thank you to Mr. Wilson. You have a well-earned retirement ahead of you, and I hope you have lots of fun things on your schedule that are totally unrelated to technology because you have earned it. I want to say thank you to everybody who showed up today and who shows up every day. We always appreciate hearing from you. Big thanks to our community who I think, I hope that you see the fruits of your efforts, community, showing up in some of the big changes that we're making in this next school year. It is a big school year with a lot of change ahead, and a lot of what we are doing, most of what we are doing, all of what we are doing, started with community feedback, community comments, whether that is students, parents, teachers, district staff in any way. We are all a shared community. We are listening to you and we are trying our best to be responsive in a very quick manner. Quick doesn't exist in education, so just know that we are doing our best to be as responsive as possible. But you're going to see the fruits of your labors showing up this year with a lot of change ahead. And I have full faith in our community that we will all embrace this change together and help everybody through the difficult parts of it to find the rewards at the end. Rewards being no cell phones in classrooms, 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up. I also want to thank my board very much for your time and your commitment and your willingness to show up and do the work. There is so much that happens behind the scenes that I think the community does not realize the amount of time and effort it is to be in this role and how heavy that can feel at times. I appreciate you showing up ready to do the work every time and covering for me last month when I was on vacation. Very much appreciated. I hope everybody in the county has time to relax. It is summertime. Please don't sweat too much in this heat, but everybody take a moment to breathe before we move into this very challenging and exciting school year ahead of us. So thank you, everybody. We will go ahead and adjourn if somebody wants to make the motion.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second, it is time to vote.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Did not think so. Thank you very much.